Hi Shogi fans, I'm going to be doing another video on Oblique climbing silver, and what you see on the screen here is a major branching off point of Oblique climbing silver. This position is where black has just dropped a bishop to 7g after making a bishop trade. Let me go back a little. Here, white opens the bishop's diagonal and black makes a bishop trade. And in the last video, I told you there are two possibilities dropping the silver to 7g or 8h. And I said 8h is more likely, but after I made further study on the Jouseki, I figured out in the newest theory, bishop drop to 7g is thought to be better. Well, I think the reason is that the king has an escaping route to 8h. So it's going to be a little bit better for black in the endgame. But this bishop drop has a down point too. I think the bishop can be easily attacked by white's pieces. For instance, lance attack or knight attack, silver attacks, and so on. So it has good point and bad point, but the newest theory says 7g is a bit better, so let's keep it that way. Black has dropped the bishop to 7g, and as I've said in the previous video, there are basically three candidate moves made by white: rook to 4a, bishop drop to 5d, and pawn to 6e. And what is thought to be best here now is this: bishop drop to 5d. So we're going to look into this line today. So the meaning of this bishop drop is really hard to see first. But if you look at the bishop's diagonal carefully, you can see first this bishop is protecting this knight. That's one important part. And also it can take this pawn. And what is more important, the bishop is aiming at the rook's head, although it's now blocked by two of their pieces. But anyway, this bishop drop is a very good one. So let's take a look at the following Jouseki. Now let's see what happens if black just went ahead for the second file. White will take it and black will play silver to 2d. But if black does that, he's been trapped because white has this pawn promotion sack, and after black takes it with a silver, white will drop a pawn to 2g, so the rook will have to take it. Now what? Well, now white makes this discovery attack to the rook and threatening to promote the pawn at the same time, and black is in a big trouble. So after the bishop drop to 5d, black cannot immediately attack the second file. So the Jouseki move goes rook to 2f, moving in front of the bishop's diagonal, and prevents that trap you've just seen. And here white makes an interesting move. Lance to 1b. Just wait for black to start attacking by moving the lance out of this bishop's diagonal. So now black can start attacking. Pawn to 2d. White takes it and black takes it too. And here white just accepts that silver trade. But then at this position white has a really interesting move. It's pawn drop to 2h, attacking the knight. Now the important thing here is the rook cannot take this knight because of this bishop. So black has nothing to do but to take that pawn on 2h by the rook. Now with this pawn sacrifice, white has managed to bring that rook back to the square that is behind this bishop's diagonal. So now white plays pawn to 4f. Black should take it, but then yes, white gets rid of another pawn that is blocking the bishop. Pawn sack to 2g, silver takes it, and then white drops the silver to 2g. Now white has succeeded in blocking black's rook. Now rook to 4h. Now what is white going to play here? One thing you can think of might be trying to make a silver exchange here, but that's not very good. Black can just take it, bishop takes, and black will drop a silver to 4g, attacking the bishop. The bishop can promote to 2g, but black will drop another one to here. Horse can only move to 2f, but then rook to 2h, attacking the horse. If the horse runs, the rook will take the knight, so white will have to drop his pawn, the only pawn left in his hand, to 2g. The silver will take it. Well, white can try an interesting tactic here, attacking the rook by silver drop, but black can calmly move the rook to 3h, attacking the silver. Black loses this silver, but he can take the silver too, still threatening to promote the rook, and there's nothing that white can do to effectively block it, because he no longer has any pawn in his hand. Okay, so let's rewind the moves a little. Here, silver to 3f wasn't very good. So, actually, at this position, white should use this pawn in his hand. On which square is he gonna drop it? First, let's see what happens after he drops it to 2h, which seems pretty natural, but it ends up to be not a very good position for white. Black will just take it, so white takes it, and rook recaptures. Now white's rook can advance to 4f, and black will make the silver fork to 5e, forking the rook and the bishop. So here comes this proverb, don't run from a fork. So white drops a pawn to 2g, blocking the rook, so white doesn't take either rook nor bishop. He just calmly moves his rook to 1h, and then now the rook will promote to 4i. Black takes the bishop, and it is very natural to recapture the silver by the pawn. But if he does that, black has a good move here. He can move his rook to 4h, offering a rook trade. If the dragon takes the knight, black's rook can promote 2, and this position is good for black. If white keeps taking pieces, black can move his bishop to this very nice square on 4d. So actually, at this position, white has better moves than just recapturing the silver here. Well, that move is this. Silver drop to 2h, trying to capture the rook. But here black has a really good counterattack. Bishop drop to 1f. Now black is threatening to drop another silver to 6c, and that's a very powerful attack. So white will now have to take the silver on 5d. But then, look at this cool move. Now the black will take the silver on 2h. And look at this. White can't take it because the bishop is aiming at the dragon. So white will have to abandon his dragon by taking the gold, and then he'll take this rook. But black can just drop a rook, for instance, and this position is good for black. So trying to capture the rook here by the silver drop doesn't work either. Now how about dropping a silver to here, 3h, also preventing the rook from offering rook trade. But this time black can drop his bishop to here, 2f, attacking the 5c square this time. Now ignoring that attack is not real good. Black's attack is too powerful. Although white can take that rook, this bishop move to 4d is very nice, and it's a good position for black. So when black dropped bishop to 2f, white has to take the silver, but then black has some good move here. Gold to 4h, forking the dragon and the silver with the help of this bishop. So again, white will have to abandon his dragon by checking, and he'll try to capture that rook. But once again, this bishop's move to 4D from the left is really nice move. And black is good here. So to summarize this line here, this pawn drop to 2H is not really good for white. So where should he drop the pawn to? Now I'm going to show you the Jouseki move. It's pawn drop to 3H, an interesting dangling pawn. One natural move here would be dropping a pawn to 2H, trying to get rid of that silver. Now we know silver to 3F on promote doesn't work here, but actually white has a good move at this position. He'll ignore that pawn drop and just promotes the pawn to 3I, and after black took the silver, white won't take the knight. That's not a good way here. He will promote his bishop to 2G, and now he's threatening to pull back this promoted pawn to 3H, and there's nothing that black can do to prevent that attack. And interestingly enough, this position is believed to be good for white. So pawn drop to 2H here is not good. So here the Jouseki move is this: rook to 4I, protecting the 3I square. Now at this position, white has basically two options. One is to move the bishop to 7F, taking a pawn, supplying his piece stand with a piece. Now then black will play pawn to 2H, but here white makes a nice pawn promotion, sack to 3I, rook takes it, and then drops that pawn he just got to 3F. A very good move sequence. Now if this silver runs, white will take the promoted pawn, rook runs, white takes the knight, and black's rook promotes. And this position is really difficult to evaluate. It's believed to be an equal position. And also, instead of moving the silver to 4H, black has an option of taking the silver on 2G. Then white will take that silver too, and rook recaptures. And then white's rook can come over to 4F. And it's not a good idea for black to promote the rook here, because white will promote it too, and you see white can take this knight and lance, but black can't take the knight because this bishop is protecting it. So instead of promoting the rook, black should drop a pawn to block the rook. So white has to block black's rook too before he moves his rook. So black moves the rook to 3I, and then white takes the pawn on 5F, and then pawn drop again. Now this rook cannot run, right? So white will drop a silver to 2H, and then they exchange the rooks. Again, a very difficult position to evaluate. It's believed to be an equal position. I think black also has an option of moving the rook. I don't know. White will take the knight, of course, and I'm not sure. Maybe the rook runs again. Pawn promotion. If black takes the silver, the rook can move to 3F. So maybe black will take the rook. White will move the silver to 3H. I'm not sure which is better here. Black can also take this promoted pawn, but maybe knight drop to 4E. It's really interesting, but anyway, it's a really difficult position to evaluate. And also, we have to look at another option made by white. It's here. After the rook moved to 4I, instead of bishop to 7F, white can also try silver to 3F this time. And at this position, pawn drop to 3D, a diagonally pawn, might have been played before, but it's not really good. White's attack is faster. Pawn promotion, sack, silver drop. Well, black's is in a big trouble. So when white played silver to 3F, black has to take it, and bishop recaptures. And once again, this position is thought to be difficult to evaluate. Alright, so after all, let me summarize the Jouseki moves from the beginning. Why don't we start from the position where black opens the battle? Okay, here. After white played pawn to 6d, pawn gambit on third file, 0 advances, white opens the bishop's diagonal, blacks make a bishop trade and drops it to 7g, but white makes another good bishop drop to 5d, rook throws up, and lance moves to 1b, and black makes a silver trade in the second file, but very good pawn sacrifice at 2h, rook has to take it, and white gets rid of these pawns and blocks the rook. Rook goes to 4h, but dangling pawn to 3h, rook goes back in defense. And white has two options, one is bishop to 7f, and the second is 0 to 3f, both ending up in equal positions. Alright, so that's all for this lesson. Hope you enjoyed the video and we'll see you next time.